So what we've got is we've got the oxygen. Oxygen is now being pumped, and it's starting to be pumped around. You had a few little black dots. Every now and again you see a pink one. The pink one is the hydrogen. Hydrogen is now coming up. Hydrogen will come up, expel, and then go into the hydrogen generator. As the oxygen electrolyzer, and then also on the power side we're going to look at a hydrogen generator. Now for those that are watching the series, you're going to see now that the colony looks a little bit different. I have recently relocated to a new location and established a new computer, and unfortunately I've then since did not bring over the old files. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to establish just a small size colony of where we were before, taking a couple of learnings from the previous session, and then we'll move through. So we'll continue the I guess the episode in the series using this colony. So I am streaming this colony on a different save, but I'm also going to save files separately and keep uploading. And as I said, I'll try and do a couple of sort of 20-minute tutorials each maybe a couple of times a week. So that will give you some updates. I'd like to take the note to just actually thank the literally everyone who subscribed and the likes and also the comments. It is fantastic, and it really inspires me to keep making these videos where people have sort of said that are starting out in this game and have said that the pace, and it really helps. So if there's anything particular you'd like me to do an episode on, or an area you'd like me to cover in detail or slowly, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. And I'd be more than happy to try and make a video around it. But without any further ado, let's get into the video. So just having a look at what we've got here, just to sort of recap, we've got a small water source here that we've got a pitcher pump, and then we've actually got a liquid pump down here. At this stage, if I move out, we have not found any geysers whatsoever. No steam geysers, no chlorine, no hydrogen, and as I said, more importantly, no steam geysers. If I put on my germs, around the right hand side it's looking quite heavy. We do have some gaps around sort of 10-11 o'clock, and a little opening down here. So we will, over the series, start to explore into this area and see what we can come up with now. But at the moment we haven't done any exploring. We've really focused on just starting the basics of the colony, trying to seal it, and trying to make a sustainable colony. So we've got 7 dupes at the moment, and we're just making our 7th bed. So let's just quickly do a recap, because we are starting with a sort of a new colony here, and then I won't do this for further series. So we've got our coal generator down the bottom, so remembering this is where sort of some heat's going to be generated. We've got our original starting point starting here. Unlike the other series, I've made a smaller pollution pool. If you remember last time we made a massive one, and it was way oversized, I've got to admit, and it was a little bit too ambitious, and it was sort of a waste of space, and that waste of space also uses up much needed oxygen. From that, we've actually now established our showers and our lavatories. So we've actually got our water system here, coming in and actually dropping our piping back into the polluted water source. We've actually got our non-filtered toilets here, so in the unlikely event we run out of water or we have a problem, we've still got these backup toilets. And I've got this one here, but I've just turned it off, so we don't actually use it. I do plan to potentially use this area moving forward, is where we will generate, let's say where we'll generate the water purification. So we'll probably just deconstruct these at a later date, and we'll actually do the water purification in that area. But we'll have a think of where that goes. We've got a couple of options, as well. A little bit of storage and some storage here, and we've created actually our hydroponic farm over here. So the water is actually coming up, moving into the hydroponic farm. And I've just realized, because I've done some building, you can see straight away this pipe is no longer connected, so we would have run out of water going into the shower. So I planned this area just to do the hydroponics. We've got our accommodation and rooms, so we've got 2 rooms here, and you can see now with the oil update and the room segregation, obviously you've got the rooms, or the barracks as they call it, and that will actually restore additional stamina when they're sleeping. You've got your latrines, which will actually reduce some of the stress. The mess hall with some paintings or decorations in it, and the mess hall obviously also reduces stress. And then the medical bay, which we've just started to build, which will obviously reduce or quarantines and reduces the risk of disease and spreads. So as I said, it's not normally the overview I'll do for each session, it's just that we're sort of starting, and just to bring everyone on board as we go. So the intent is to make this area our hydroponic area, but the focus of the session is what we want to do on the electrolyzers. So you can see that I've just started, but we'll actually continue this for the session. So the aim of this is what we actually want to do. We're finding that we're running out of algae. So we've got 1,500 kilos here, which is obviously keeping our algae deoxidizers on the go, and obviously our terraniums in our lower areas, but we're starting to run out of algae. So we get a little bit more algae around here, and we can certainly collect this algae as we need to. But at the end of the day, we're starting to run out of algae. So we need to go to the next stage, which is where we need to use our water to generate our oxygen, and that's where our electrolyzers come into play. So the way we're going to do this with the electrolyzers, and just having a look at this, so they take 1,000 grams of water, and they use 120 watts of power. They do produce 888 grams of oxygen, but they also produce hydrogen, and they produce heat as well, and a little bit of downplay in the actual decor itself. So the aim of what we want to do is we want to produce a room. We have the 2 gas pumps, and we want to suck the oxygen out of this room and then place the oxygen around the colony. But with the hydrogen, what we want to do is we want to move the hydrogen into another contained room, and then pump that hydrogen into our hydrogen generator. So it means that through the electrolyzers, we're also generating another source of power. So our gas pumps, where we got here? So no, we don't have it on there. We'll go through with the actual gas pumps itself. So the gas pump itself is minus 500 grams of gas. Remembering our electrolyzer is pumping 888. So we can actually physically have 2 gas pumps to take care of 1 electrolyzer. Okay, so you get the 2 gas pumps can actually take care of the 1 electrolyzer. Okay, and that's more than enough. So let's actually continue on with our building. So what we're actually looking at is, and we'll do it just with the dupes off at the moment, is we're literally looking at sort of building up through this area here. Above this room, we want to put a hydrogen generator. So remembering the hydrogen generator, when we have a look at it, and it actually has a low on decor, but we're not too worried about the decor in this case, because we're not actually going to go into the room unless we're repairing the hydrogen generator. So there's our hydrogen generator, and we'll build the room around there accordingly. And we're actually going to start sealing these rooms with manual locks and mechanical locks. So we can actually seal those off. The next one we want to build, as we talked about, is actually somewhere to actually store our hydrogen. I'm just going to going to bring it to the other one, so let me just play around with this a little bit. So and we will be right. So what we're actually looking at here then, and we'll continue with this one, is we're putting our filter here and we're doing the gas pipe. So basically it will come in, it will move into the filtered area, and any hydrogen will then come out, because we'll set the filter, the gas filter, and that's that. This one will come straight down into the hydrogen generator. So we're going to just have to build a little bit of a ladder system in here so they can work on there. So you can see the shadows of where we've gone. So we've got our oxygen, our gas pump that's going to gas the oxygen and the hydrogen that this electrolyzer is going to produce. The gas filter itself is selected, will be selected to hydrogen. Okay, and the next thing that we have, so if it's not hydrogen, then it will be oxygen, and then the oxygen we can actually filter throughout the actual building itself. So the next one we want to do is bring that in. We're going to have a gas exchange here. And that will be the two pumps. All right, so let's now let's get the dupes to start working on that. And whilst we're doing that, we're just going to probably speed it up as they're working on that to actually also do such things as the power and other elements to keep it going as well. Okay, so we'll just speed that up and we'll let them work on their setup. Okay, so welcome back to day 27. So just whilst it's still going quick, I just thought I'd sort of give a little bit of an update. So what I've also done is noticed that I've been running a little bit short of food. So we're using this opportunity, even though the main focus here is to do the oxygen, is I need to build a level of sustainability in our food shortage, because you can see that we're always getting this these food problems. So I'm going to just increase my hydroponic farm, which we've done here. So we've got plenty of millwood, and before we can move on to such things as fungal spores and other food groups, we're just going to try and get off of the mush bars. The mush bars, as we found in a different series, increases the diarrhea and just does a lot of just makes people sick, because obviously the diarrhea spreads the disease, and then it just makes it a little bit harder when you start going through. So if we actually have a look at our disease at the moment, we can see we got a little bit on the ladders as we're coming through. So what we will do, and I found this as just an important bit for starting off, is every now and again just do a big disinfectant run. I think the main area, so we've got someone who's a little bit grimly there. So yes, it takes some time to then just do the cleanup, but it pays off, because as I found in another one, if the disease spreads, it is hard to recover from it. And I will admit that one of my colonies I had to stop because I could not control the disease simply through disinfecting. So if it's day 27, it doesn't matter, sort of taking a couple of hours out of our day now just to do a bit of a disinfectant run, and you can see that they're doing this. So they'll clean up the disease, and that will just actually just help disinfecting everything. We are starting to run out of algae, as you can see, so we'll keep an eye on it. There's a couple of pieces of algae there. I can also break into here if I need to. So there's plenty of algae sort of lying about. Oxygen wise, you can sort of see that we are a little bit behind on the oxygen generation, so it is an important piece of the build, and that's why we're focusing on this. But let's have a look. We're almost there, and we've almost finished our clean. And yes, and as you can see, obviously we've cleaned up the site. There's not a lot of germs, so we can continue with our build. Just going to keep these manual locks open at the moment whilst we're doing our building. So just slowing it down while we finish our electrical and our setup. So the other things we want to make sure is we want to make sure that our water is ready and pumped into our electrolyzer. So let's get our water pipe up and pump that in. The next thing we want to make sure is we've got power. So we're going to need the power to actually give it its first kick. Once it's generating hydrogen, then the hydrogen should actually support and power this little setup here. So let's run the power up, but I'm not going to connect the power yet. I'm literally going to run it to here. The other thing I've noticed, we've got a couple of hatches here. So like we did in the other series, I'm going to use these hatches as little coal generators. So we're going to drop a storage just in the middle here. Might seem a little bit crowded, and I guess it is a bit crowded, but we're just going to use these hatches to basically continue to eat and to drop coal as they do. So we'll speed it up through the night. Okay, so we're just powering it up. So once again, we want to feed the hatch here, so let's actually have a look at our raw material that we've got. So we've got 55 tonnes of sandstone. So what we might do is turn this one into a sandstone only container, up the priority, and that should be more than enough food to keep them going. Okay, so let's have a look at our oxygen setup at the moment. As you can see, we're doing okay in the middle, but we're hurting a little bit around the outside, and certainly at the top where the carbon dioxide sort of up here. So the next thing we want to do is now look at our outtake pipes and where we actually want to vent this the oxygen. So we've stopped the pipe here for the time being. And now we want to look at the areas where we want to filtrate this oxygen. Obviously, we want to pump it low and let the oxygen move up. So we've got these vents in here now that will certainly help for that to be filtered through. So let's jump down here, moving the pipe down. We're going to throw one just into this room down here, keeping in mind that it should vent back up and through. I will drop another vent here. And the last one, we will drop, let's say in this little area here, but we'll keep that for a little bit later on. So we'll drop a couple of these vents, one here, one here. We'll drop another mesh tile here, and this will allow the venting to come up and through. And this way we can refocus our algae terraniums to cover this area. So we've got a nice little concentration of carbon dioxide in these areas, so we may actually produce a little terranium with a light field, lights down here to take care of that. So and that is it. We're going to lock this. We're going to sweep up the area here, and then we're ready to turn this turn it on. So it's taken 2 cycles, so we'll be ready to turn this on the next one, and it's taken 2 cycles to set this up. So I was saying I've actually got a level of polluted oxygen in this corner. So what I'm actually going to do is, just while we're building that, slow it down, I'm just going to have a deodorizer. And the deodorizer sitting in this corner here should be enough just to get rid of that, the polluted oxygen. Great thing about a deodorizer, it doesn't need power, it doesn't need the algae, it just needs some sandstone just to filter out that polluted oxygen, and that will tidy up that area there. Obviously the polluted oxygen has just been concentrated from the actual toilets here, so it's a good little thing just to come here and it will clean that up. Alright, let's speed it up. Okay, so that's it. So the deodorizer is actually here, so that's actually going to start fixing some of the polluted air, and obviously if the toilets actually create any more polluted oxygen, then it will get contained in this area and the deodorizer will convert that. So that already has just tidied up that little bit of area. The oxygen generation, as I said, is still a little bit under. So let's just do a final recap. So we've created our oxygen generation room in here, and we've got the hatches, but that's just a little bit aside. Those hatches have got nothing to do with the oxygen generation. Let's start with water. Sorry, let's start with plumbing. We're plumbing fresh water up from our containers here into our electrolyzer. And we have our power coming up to connect into our electrolyzer as well, but we just haven't connected the power at this stage. That will be the final step. Once we've connected the power, then it will turn itself on. From the electrolyzer, we have 2 gas pumps, and that will pump all the gas that's contained with this in this room, and it will move it up until we get to this filter. So what we want to do is click the filter, and then we want to select the output. So in this case here, we're going to select hydrogen. What it will actually do, it will then, through the pipes, the ventilation, through the yellow being the hydrogen, it will take the hydrogen and it'll move the hydrogen up and expel it in this room here, and this is where it will come out. From that, we actually have then our next gas pump, and this will circulate through to the filter. The filter once again will select hydrogen. So we've select hydrogen, and it will take the hydrogen down and move it to this hydrogen generator. And then the hydrogen generator will actually connect power and move it in. At a later date, what I will do is I'll actually put a switch, which means that I can switch the main power off, and hopefully the hydrogen has enough hydrogen to go. And obviously with the switch, it means that if it runs out and stops the hydrogen generator, I can just flick the switch to move the other power source in. Okay, so let's lock these doors. So the next morning they'll do that, then we'll connect the power, and we should be good to go. Speed it up. And it's just in the nick of the time. You just have to have a look at what we've got here. We're really short on the oxygen side, so let's connect that power and see if we can connect that from outside. I just want to lock these doors because there's actually no need to go into these rooms. Excellent. And there we go. So that door's locked. It's now producing the oxygen. At the same time, the hatches are in there and making coal, but that's just a byproduct of the fact that the hatches were actually there. Let's actually have a look at our oxygen now, or more importantly, let's have a look at our plumbing system or our ventilation system. So what we've got is we've got the oxygen. Oxygen is now being pumped, and it's starting to be pumped around. You had a few little black dots. Every now and again you see a pink one. The pink one is the hydrogen. Hydrogen is now coming up. Hydrogen will come up, expel, and then go into the hydrogen generator. So at this stage, until the hydrogen generator, or until the room actually generates a lot of hydrogen, you'll find that it's actually going to stop and start, but it will generate a little bit of power, as you can see that it's doing there, and it will just do more and more as the hydrogen increases. Now if we actually have a look at our oxygen overlay, we should see, and we look at our reports, we're now generating more oxygen than we're actually removing. And we should very quickly start to see this oxygen being pumped and filtered around the room. In here we've got a little bit of oxygen, we've got some carbon dioxide down the bottom, and we've got the hydrogen at the top. And what we can do is we can actually open the door, and that will expel and push the oxygen and the carbon dioxide out down the stairwells, down the bottom. All right, so thank you very much. That one was just a fraction longer than what we wanted to actually produce, but we achieved what we want. So once again, this was to produce the electrolyzer to actually. Whoop, we've got a little bit of an overload there, so we'll just come in to make sure that we can fix that. Unlock that, and that will come in. Electrolyzer producing both oxygen and hydrogen. Hydrogen going into a independent room, a sealed room, allowing the hydrogen to move into a hydrogen generator, which actually only produces energy. It has no actual byproducts. Well, still broken, so I need to have that again, just so we can. So what is the problem there? But anyway, I'll fix that up in the separate one. Hydrogen generator producing more energy and keeping this going, or keeping this self-contained. The only thing I do want to do, as I said, is put a switch in there and just make this a self-contained system that should be able to look after itself. So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you on how to actually create I guess the electrolyzer and the oxygen, and also how to double up with the hydrogen to keep that going as well. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to hit the likes and write any comments on any other episodes or series you'd like me to do in regards to Oxygen Not Included, and hit the subscribe. So thank you very much. Have a great day or night, and see you in the next episode.